what they do is run to the next.
No. To get a better perspective, let's go back and figure out why do I think that?
And visualize positive things so that I can get a positive result.
Men are under the illusion that if you suppress it, it goes away.
This is sad. No, let him talk.
Welcome to HisSide. As usual, we got Jaycee, and we have returning guest, Errisson, world-renowned photographer, creative. So I'm glad that he could join us again today.
Thank you. Thank you for
Good
having me.
to see you again, Errisson.
Good to see you too.
Heard you just came back from Hawaii. What was that like?
Man, Hawaii was nice. And it's funny because I've never been. So you see Hawaii on TV and you have this thought of how it was or how it is or how it's supposed to look. And for some odd reason, when I got there, my first words was, damn, it looks just like America. You forget you are in America, but you have to take a 5-hour flight across the ocean to like pretty much see it. But yeah, man, it was just like America. But I was in the most touristy spot. So it was like Las Vegas was in Hawaii pretty much. So yeah, it was interesting, but it was nice.
So it was work and pleasure?
Yeah, pretty much mostly work though.
So I want to talk about the pleasure part. In having a couple of days off in Hawaii, did you get a chance to kind of reset and enjoy the atmosphere? Because I know you've been going through a lot over the last couple months. Our audience don't really know, but we're going to kind of get into it. Did you get a chance to reset?
Yeah, because I was with my new girl, Jasmine or whatnot, and we went to the beach. And I'm not a beach person. Like, to me, I used to go and it's like, why am I here? Or whatnot. Like, you know, women, they like to go to the beach and just lay out on the sand and just like chill or whatnot.
Right.
And I would just be twiddling my thumbs like, man, I'm ready to go. What's the next thing we're gonna do? Like, just to sit still and just like enjoy the moment. But now, since like, you know, everything has changed, I was able to really sit with her, not say a word to her, and just enjoy the moment or whatnot. So I guess you could say be more present.
So that's what I wanted to lead into. So I wanted to see, were you able to just enjoy?
Yeah.
And why our audience doesn't know. So can you fill us in on why you were able to enjoy it? And if you would have done this a year ago or 2 years ago, you wouldn't have.
Oh, because of the drugs.
Okay.
This would be funny with it, but because like I started going to see a psychiatrist or whatnot, because I had tried a lot of things under the sun. Like I went and got blood work done. I saw a rheumatologist, neurologist, like every ologist that you can think of. Like I had that as a doctor to try to like figure out what's going on with me. Like, why am I always tired? Why do I have like no motivation? You know, like why do I not have the will to live, but not in a suicidal way?
Okay.
You know, like how you, like when I talk with you, you be like, yeah, I just get up in the morning and I just go, you know, and yada, yada, yada. And my girl, like, she's one of those people, like she just goes. And, you know, I guess people would say the hustler mentality. I didn't have that, but with, you know, like how society preaches things, like if you don't have that mentality, you're just lazy or whatnot. So.
What's something wrong with you?
Yeah, something wrong with you, but pretty much lazy because they think that.
Like that's what life's all about. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And life is bigger than just that.
Yeah, life is more about work or whatnot. But yeah, so just pretty much lazy. But even if you say something is wrong with you, they still think that you should be able to like work through it. Right. So I got a psychiatrist. I was talking with her. And before I did any other drugs and stuff, like I saw her for about 3 months and we would just have like conversations and we would just like try different things, you know, like working out or going out and being in the sun and stuff and everything. And nothing was working. Like I was still in that mellow zone, you know, like I wasn't super happy, wasn't super sad. It was just like a neutral thing. So no feelings or whatnot. Like I wouldn't get like angry or stressed.
So there are no highs or lows.
Pretty much just neutral.
Just constant,
you know?
consistent.
So I would, like after being on medication, I kind of consider that area in that zone like a superpower because you can put me in the most stressful situations. And if I'm in that zone, I can work through it, like no problem. Like I could be having problems with my girl, photo shoot could be going bad, they can be rioting outside, you know, and a bunch of other things could just be going wrong, but I'll be cool and calm. Poised, yeah. But now since I'm on the medication, I'm finally experiencing what people would be like, it's stressful, I can't take this. I never felt that before. Like I would just look at them and be like, what's wrong with you? Like how people would look at me like, why don't you have that motivation? I would look at people like, what's wrong with you? Like, why are you so stressed? So I didn't really have that much empathy. But now, since I'm like going through these things, like I'm experiencing new emotions. So
Okay,
like
okay.
emotions that I like never had. So like anxiety or just anxiousness, like I know what that feels like now, which is essentially what people will feel when they are stressed situations. But I never felt that before because I was, I guess you can say, dead inside, essentially. So yeah, and with me on the medication is like how the doctor would say, go work out. And you're supposed to get this feeling. I never got that feeling before when I would go work out. It was like, why am I doing this? Oh, because
Was it like because the reason I'm asking, is it a chemical imbalance or was it an emotional imbalance?
I would say chemical imbalance
Okay.
because the amount of work that I've done with my, I guess you can say, emotional intelligence and like self-awareness and everything, like, yeah, it wasn't that. Like at one point, I thought my lack of wanting to like be a regular citizen in the world was just my awareness of us creating this society and how we make it like this is what life is, like sort of what you were saying or whatnot.
yeah.
Like this isn't life. Working and getting a job and making money isn't what life is supposed to be. Even getting married and having kids and doing all of these things that society says that you're supposed to be doing isn't what life is at the end of the day. Like we really have nothing saying out there naturally what life is supposed to be if you're not religious. If you're religious, totally different thing. But if you're not, there's nothing in the world you can see that says you're supposed to do these specific things. Even in religion, you all don't have it. You have the Bible, which essentially tells you this is what you're supposed to be doing or following these steps or whatnot. So with that understanding, that kind of, I don't want to say killed my enthusiasm for what they said life is supposed to be, but it just gave me an understanding. And that kind of did make me lose that hunger to like want to just go out there and live this life that some other man before me has said that I'm supposed to live.
Yeah. Well, I just want to add on that because I totally agree with you. Like most of what we do in society is a social construct that we made as humans because nowhere in nature does it exist the way we exist in our society where we're worrying about what we wear, what clothes we wear, and how it affects other people around us. So like if I'm not dressed up, then you see me different or whatever the case may be, then you gotta live, keeping up with the Joneses and making sure
Yeah.
like you are this thing that everyone aspires to be. Where in nature, usually it's just like survival instincts, just staying alive. You know what I mean? Just living life and going where they need to go. Like whether an animal goes and roams free and just kind of continues to do so. I think humans don't necessarily, or just life in general on this planet, wasn't necessarily grown to be the way that we are now in this box where our society functions, where you have to go to work, you have a schedule, you have all these responsibilities, you're managing money, resources, and now you're managing a bunch of people. I think it's sometimes hard to fit in that box because not everybody gains fulfillment participating in that society.
Yeah, a lot of people starting to realize that.
Well, part of it came from creating societies,
Yeah.
right? So in a society, there's an economy.
Yep.
And so in order for an economy to run, there has to be levels to it, right? And so depending on where you fall in that level, that's going to determine how you respond in the society. My question to that, to go back for a second, is as a kid, was it always this same way where you were emotionless, or did you have initiative as a kid and then it became a chemical imbalance?
Now going back after being on the medication and like really looking over my life, I used to think like I didn't like school. Like school was just something that they put you through. And I understand the education part, like I get that. But like college and stuff like that was something that was forced on you. You kind of really don't need it to be successful in society. And I still agree with that. But I used to
I
think
agree as
that
well.
I didn't like it because of that. When in all actuality, I didn't like school. And then why my grades dropped off like after sophomore year was just because my attention span, like I couldn't focus or whatnot. So when I'm not on the medication, for me to sit at my desk and work on something for many hours, it's so hard. Like it's very hard. Like it's exhausting or whatnot. But when I'm on the medication, I can do so much and do so many things that I lose track of time. Like I forget like everything else that's like going on. So like it's like, damn, wow. That's how people who don't have autism or ADHD, that's how they operate. This is like what you all feel. Like it's almost like a sense of jealousy. It's like, man, like
I don't know if they do. I don't know if necessarily everybody's gonna feel that way.
yeah, everybody
You know
don't.
what I'm
Yeah,
saying?
yeah,
I
yeah.
feel like well, because a lot of these medications give you more of a hyper focus. You know what I'm saying? Because I've been through it too. I got diagnosed with like ADHD when I was young. And took a lot of stuff, and the way I was able to feel on these medications, I know like with that focus where you just lock in. I know it's hard for everybody. It's definitely harder for when you're diagnosed with ADHD because you're bouncing around.
Well,
But-
I'm not necessarily, so I don't have the ADHD to where what I used to think ADHD was, like with little kids where they can't focus. Like they just got many things going on, can't finish anything. It's not that, it's the focus that I get is I'm able to enjoy what I'm doing. So with me enjoying it, it allows me to like focus. So it gives me the feeling of enjoying what I'm doing. So
Right.
before it would be like, I would just be working at the desk, working on these pictures, and it's a nuisance. Even though I loved what I just shot, for me to go back and work at the desk and work on those pictures because I gotta go through thousands of pictures, it's a chore. Now it's an enjoyment. So yeah, it's like a difference. So it's like I'm learning so much about ADHD as opposed to what I thought it was. Because what I always thought it was just can't pay attention. That's it. And you just running around and always talking and yapping. And it's way more than that. It's so much more included in ADHD or whatnot.
100%.
And it kind of runs into autism also or whatnot, which explains on why I may think the way I think and why I may see life the way I see it or whatnot. Like I'm more of a 360 person when I'm having a conversation or looking at a problem. Like I'm looking at like all the nuances. A lot of people who aren't on the spectrum, they call, I guess the term would be neurotypicals, they don't do that. So when I'm having conversations with people, I'm having conversations from many different aspects or whatnot and seeing their perspective or whatnot. And when I'm talking to them, like my friend, he was using the term, oh, you keep moving the goalposts. I'm not moving the goalposts. I'm just bringing in something else that actually correlates to the subject, but you just aren't aware of that situation over there to talk about the subject. So it also affects like how you think and how you converse with people.
So as a person, I'm not really a big fan of medication first, right? So I'm a mindset person, right? I believe that you can train your mind and develop your mind when you have the right tools, when you understand the necessary skills, and when you understand what the defects may be, right? So what I'm asking now is, now that you're on the medication and you are able to focus and not only focus, but enjoy. So there's like some euphoria that comes from the medication and the ability to focus. Is there any other training that has to go, or is there any mental training that goes into it, or is it just the medication that has solved the problem?
I can't answer that question with any validity because I had already done so much mental conditioning and mental training that for me to be on the medication, it's like, okay, I'm already there. So for a person that, if I hadn't done all of that and then did it, then I could give an answer to that. So
like
I really don't know.
Both almost.
Yeah. Because I had done so much mental training and conditioning to try to get to where I wanted to get to before, like this. I was just doing that just in general. It had nothing to do with
Just trying to be better.
Yeah. Just have a different outview on life or whatnot. So yeah. But to answer your question about drug first, I didn't do drug first. I did everything under the sun, but it's almost like people don't want to do drugs and they're afraid of drugs and they want to do what you said, like work on yourself naturally or whatnot. But what if, and I'm just throwing this out there, what if the food is what's causing you to act this way, behave
Yeah,
this way, or
yeah.
have this condition going up.
So I agree that there can be, there's a purpose for medicine,
Yeah,
right? There is a reason that some brilliant people were able to create medication that can help you in whatever circumstance or
Yeah.
situation, right? So I'm not against medication. What I'm saying is that some people go to medication, not you, some people go to medication first before they even exhaust other resources to see if there's another way to solve the challenge or solve the problem.
Yeah.
And so that's what I'm not
Well,
for that.
I actually went through that. When I was young, like I got diagnosed with ADHD and all this stuff, and I was coming fresh out of high school. My uncle was a pediatrician, so like I went to his friends who were like neurologists and stuff like that. I got put on a bunch of medicine, and I didn't really do self-development because like I'm like 20 years old, like I'm just trying to figure out what the world is really, right? And try to go to school and just be happy with. My whole struggle was actually similar to what you were saying was I see so many people participating in society and they're not happy. They have the full-time job, the 9 to 5, they own the house, they have kids, but they're not happy, they're miserable. They're stuck in this cycle that really brings no fulfillment. So I was like struggling with that, and then I couldn't pay attention to anything. I was smart, I'll do good on tests, but I couldn't really work on stuff. So I got diagnosed and they just put me on a bunch of medications. So I cycled through a bunch because I had a bunch of really bad reactions like Ritalin and Vyvanse, and there was another one that made me bipolar. I went through every emotion you could within an hour. And it was just like back to back. I was just euphorically happy, then miserably sad. I had to like go to the basketball court just to cool off by myself and shoot and just trying to go through it, you know? So the medication alone didn't do it for me. It kind of made it worse, and then it almost became like a crutch for me where I'm like, well, they said I can't focus without it, so now I need it, and then I feel all terrible when I take it. So not only am I not being fulfilled, I'm like almost on this stuff that I feel like I have to take, right? Just because I'm not solving any underlying issues, right?
Yeah.
So I definitely think it's a combination of both things where it's like, you know, those medications could help, and in right circumstances, they can amplify what you're doing, but you still need the self-development part where you can solve some of the underlying issues within yourself.
So I do have a therapist at the same time.
Okay.
So I'm not just having a psychiatrist, because a psychiatrist isn't necessarily a therapist. A psychiatrist, like, they'll talk to you about what you're saying.
What is,
emotions and
I was
stuff
gonna say,
going through the stuff.
explain for me and for the audience, what is the difference between a psychiatrist in medical and then also personally, and then psychologists and therapists for our audience to understand?
All right. So a therapist is somebody that you're going to talk to and you're going to explain to them what's going on honestly, and they're going to help you work through your problems. But there also are some therapists out there that will essentially tell you what your problem is and give you an example of what you should do. Because I'm hearing a lot of people out there talk about how therapy is supposed to go, like therapists are only supposed to help you get to where you're trying to go. But there's another form of therapy out there that also, they do tell you what it is that you should possibly try. Like, they give you the answer.
Okay.
Like
Recommendations. They make recommendations.
Yeah. Like, therapy isn't always about you trying to figure out your own, like through talking to them or whatnot. So the therapy, that's pretty much what they do. The psychiatrists, they're the only ones that can like prescribe the drugs.
Okay.
So a therapist, they can't give you drugs, from my understanding. I think I may be wrong, or I don't know, but from my understanding, the therapist can't prescribe drugs, only the psychiatrist. So the psychiatrists, they will talk to you a little bit like a therapist or whatnot, but they're more so trained in talking to you about the effects you're having from the drugs, what's going on and everything and stuff like that. And pretty much like issues you're having with life, therapist or whatnot. So what you're saying, like, I'm on the drugs, but I also have the therapist so that I can talk to her about everything that's going on in life and stuff.
So psychologist is psychoanalyzing and then prescribing.
Yeah.
No, psychiatrist, I believe.
Yeah, psychiatrist.
Psychologists, I believe, are more like therapists where
okay,
they prescribe medication.
Psychiatrists analyze and prescribe a drug based on their clinical knowledge.
Yes.
Therapist then helps to bring up the underlying problems or anything that you need to work through to add value to what the psychiatrist is prescribing.
Yeah, because if you're taking drugs, you're essentially changing who you are as a person. So your emotions may be different. Like for me, my emotions were like different or whatnot. So it wasn't to where I had to talk to a therapist to like calm down or anything. It was just like, okay, I'm experiencing this. Like, what's this? Or what? So, for example, my girlfriend moved to New York, and I used to always want to like just talk with her because I missed her, I love her, I care for her, and yada yada yada. And when I started the medication, that constant wanting to have like connection went away or whatnot. Like people would throw out there, oh, you were insecure, you were just trying to keep tabs on it. It's like, nah, like I actually genuinely like this person. Like I want to talk to this person
Right.
or whatnot. But it went away. It wasn't that I stopped liking her so much. It wasn't that there was problems in the relationship. But when I talked to my therapist, she was like, well, Errisson, you probably was experiencing anxiety, a hidden anxiety or whatnot. And with the medication like quenches anxiety. So with that anxiety gone, you didn't feel the want or the need to always like have that connection with her.
Right.
So therapy is like, that's what that would be for. Because the drug, it changed me. It like got rid of a lot of anxiety that I didn't even know I had or whatnot. And now I can talk to the therapist and be like, okay, why am I feeling this? Because I can't figure this out. I can't break this down. So she pretty much explained to me what the possibility may be or whatnot. She didn't say it was definite, but it's, it was like, maybe this is what it may be.
These drugs or, these medications, they change the chemical balance in your brain, which your brain basically is just a bunch of different kind of chemicals and hormones reacting within each other to help you feel every emotion and think every thought, which goes back to something we touched on lightly earlier, which was the foods we eat now definitely help amplify a lot of symptoms that people are seeing. So ADHD is at an all-time high. Autism, a lot of these things that are neural conditions are at all-time high because we're having a lot more sugars and artificial sweeteners and all this stuff like
the hormones they're injecting into the
kid. But that's almost like
how our brain works.
It's almost like a catch-22 with that, because we can say that these things are all-time high, but society is different today. Like going to the doctors and getting diagnosed with things is different today. Like more people are going. So like you could just look at the internet with people talking about it. So it may seem like it. So it's like, I'm curious I don't know if we'll ever have those numbers, because we would have to go back in the days with like our parents when they were eating things differently to kind of see. I just kind of want to correct that because, not even correct that, but to speak on that, because I just don't want it to seem like things are really at an all-time high, because it's almost like we didn't really do the work as a society to really care about mental health. So I don't want to make it seem like we did the work as a society to care about mental health when we really didn't. So we really don't know what the numbers were in the past and everything. So it's just a lot of people have it. That's what I would say. Like a lot of people have it or whatnot.
A lot of people have what?
Some kind of mental illness, either ADHD, autism, somewhere on the spectrum possibly or whatnot.
Yeah.
But there is studies that have definitive like effects on the brain based off of what you consume, especially in development. Either whether you're in the stomach or when you're a child growing up, and it affects how your brain develops. Yeah. And so it's not that, I agree with you, like 100 years ago, it's not that we had neurologists that were able to diagnose a disease that didn't even exist yet in their minds. Right?
Yeah, but 100 years ago, we didn't have all these big pharma. We didn't have all these pharmaceutical companies that were creating drugs and pumping them into society.
Yeah, but you know what we had 100 years ago, though?
What?
We had plastic. So it's like we are doing so much to our bodies and society that we just don't realize and know the long-term effects because, one, microplastics. We just learned about that within our plastic bottles, within our like pretty much clothes. Polyester. We wearing plastic all day, every day on our bodies. So we don't know what that is doing to our bodies chemically or whatnot. So for me, when I speak about drugs, it's like, yeah, I would love not to use drugs to fix or help with my condition. But at the end of the day, I understand that I've done personally so much to my body with sugar and eating food or whatnot, but then also at the same time, doing things that I didn't know I was doing to my body by wearing polyester or just cooking with plastic and the microplastics and stuff. It's like, I just want to live a happy life, because it's like, no matter what I'm doing, no matter where I go, my car is plastic or just there's just so much that just kills us.
Mhm.
The air or whatnot. It's just like, okay, I gotta pick and choose like what
For
I
sure.
want to do, because everything out there just seems like it's like doing harm to we doing harm to
Could
ourselves.
possibly be doing harm,
Yeah,
for
could
sure.
possibly,
Yeah, because
yeah.
everybody has a different, even though we're all humans, we have a different physiological makeup, right? And so a lot of things that I've learned recently is that a lot of the drugs that we take aren't even made for you. They're made for a group based on a average of this is what it should do on the average to the
Mhm.
average group of people.
Yeah.
And so
yeah, I agree with you.
Yeah,
it's
and
not
so-
curtailed to you. Like
Exactly.
we
It's not
don't have
designed
concoctions that's
specifically.
curtailed to you.
Yeah,
You
so-
may have a concoction of, okay, Vyvanse works for me, Wellbutrin works for me, but it won't work for him.
Right.
But as far as the specific drug being curtailed, no, we don't have that yet.
Right.
So like, yeah, that's a good point, you know.
So
We don't.
again, I think that medication is a good thing when used properly, right? And so another thing that I want to ask is, like, when you start getting on the medication and you start to feel better, you start to move better, you have initiative, is this a lifelong thing, or how do the
So
psychiatrists say that? Is there a time
the
period?
thing I like about my psychiatrist is he said I have a choice. For me, I want to get my career to a certain point, and I need to be functional to a certain point. I need to be high functional to get it to where I need to get it, especially with me being 42 and I got years to make up or whatnot.
Right.
So once I get my career to a certain point and where it's at, I don't need to be on the medication, because wherever my career is at, I can always maintain that point, but I just need to get it to that point.
So
or
is it?
whatnot. But the thing is, if I get off the medication, that sense, so I'm on two. I'm on Vyvanse. Vyvanse is the one that helps with the focus and the energy, so I don't be taking like midday naps all the time. I don't wake up tired, or I just don't be sitting here talking to you and get mentally bored and go and feel like I'm sleepy. Like that's what helps that. The Wellbutrin is what helps with the depression. So if I stop that, the depression is, it's a horrible feeling. Like I don't want to experience that at all, because she had told me to just try the Vyvanse and stop taking the Wellbutrin. I did the Vyvanse, had the energy and stuff, but just that cloud of depression that I was just having, and just it's hard to explain. It's like a yucky, consistent feeling.
Are there any negative effects from not having boredom? Like, I think in life, you should be bored sometimes.
Maybe boredom is the wrong word for that. I guess, like how we're having a conversation right now, if I'm getting sleepy and tired, it's just not going to be an entertaining like conversation. I'm going to be yawning a lot.
But every conversation, well, hold on. This is the thing that every conversation shouldn't be entertaining.
Yeah.
There should be
But we're
educational
doing a
conversations.
podcast and we're trying to entertain people.
No, but you can educate people. There's a lot of people out here that are considering taking medication.
Yeah.
There are a lot of people that are going through depression, that are anxious, that are going through all of these mood swings, right? And so this is an opportunity to inform.
Yeah.
We don't got to tell no jokes, right? 'Cause some people really need information,
Yeah.
right? So what I'm asking is, another thing that I'm asking, let me say this, is as you're taking the medication, does it have to increase? Does it decrease? Or do you, like, how does that work?
So I'm new to this, so I can't really say as time goes on that I'm going to have to increase or decrease. Right now, we just found I guess you can say, perfect number, which is the very minimum of what the medications are. Like, Wellbutrin, the lowest you can get is 150. That's where I'm at.
Okay.
And then for the Vyvanse, the minimum you can get is like 10, and that's where I'm at. So I haven't had to go like up and down, but some people do. So I don't know if long term I have to go up or down. But like, to answer your question, like if I want to get off it, yeah, I can. I'll just go back to feeling like what I was feeling.
But you don't know yet because you never.
No, I have. I've tried it. I haven't done it long term enough, I guess, for your satisfaction of doing it like 2 years and then stopping it and then seeing how it goes. But I've done it like for like 3 months. I was good. And then I was like, okay, let me just take the Vyvanse alone and wing off the Wellbutrin.
And it
then
didn't work.
that constant like, so depression is like, I didn't understand this when I used to talk to my friends who were like suicidal and just like how they were like, they just always wanted to like off themselves. Like it was just a constant for some people. It was just always there. I didn't know I was feeling what I was feeling until I started taking the medication, until I was able to experience until I was able to start feeling feelings or whatnot. And then that's when I noticed like,
Okay, I gotta ask this, right?
Uh-huh.
So if you weren't feeling any feelings, how do you know you're depressed? How do you know you're bored?
I know Vyvanse wouldn't necessarily.
So that's the
bring that out
thing.
of you, but was it when you
So-
started taking Wellbutrin that you started?
So that's the
noticing?
thing. The reason why I went to the doctors and the reason why I was like, before I went to the therapist and the psychiatrist, the reason why I was going to the medical doctors was I'm always tired. I have no energy. I have no will to want to do
That
things.
could be testosterone?
Huh?
What
My
about-
testosterone levels were
What about diet?
technically regular
Okay,
or
okay,
whatnot. So
okay.
What about diet? Like,
even with the diet, I've changed the diet or whatnot because of my cholesterol level. Like I ended up changing my diet and started eating so-called like clean food. Still didn't make any changes.
Gotcha.
Or what. The only thing that I didn't get rid of was just my biggest addiction is sugar. Like that's so
Yeah,
hard.
that's a drug itself.
but
So-
to be fair, that is something that directly
It is.
causes energy spikes.
It is.
And then that energy spikes then causes the opposite, which would be like a depression of energy.
Yeah, it is.
So I know for me personally, like I used to take Vyvanse and stuff like that. And the one thing that ended up helping me was caffeine. Now I know caffeine's not necessarily healthy for you, right? Because the energy drinks are full of garbage.
Right, a certain level.
Right.
Yeah,
So
those
I'm
didn't
saying,
do
like,
nothing.
energy drinks.
They didn't do nothing for me. They were just delicious drinks.
I feel that. But for me now, like I switched over to just caffeine pills, right? They're just easy, quick dose. I doesn't have a lot of the garbage that energy drinks has. It has some theanine in there too for focus. And I found that to be a really good balance. But when I was on these medications, it never solved the underlying issues that I always had, right? And I think that's one thing I have a problem with the Medicare industry. It's like they don't want to long-term solve it. They want to give you something that you got to keep taking, right? So I feel like, and I don't know if there is that permanent solution to solve depression forever.
Yeah,
right?
but so you got the Medicare that don't want to solve anything.
Right.
But then let's say we got the world that's also feeding that also, like with the food.
How do you
and
de-
with
how do you
everything
guys?
else.
Because I'm sure I've experienced this some, but how do you define depression? Because I want to know if I've ever had that.
It's almost like trying to define being on the spectrum because it's so wide. Like my depression won't be the same as yours. And
Okay, so
yours won't be the
give me a
same as his.
definition of
So for
depression so that you
mine-
knew I'm depressed versus last week I was not depressed.
So it didn't run like that for me. Mine was a constant daily thing that I didn't know I was experiencing until I experienced others.
So who told you?
So I'll finish the story. So I went to the doctors because of those things. Like I thought it was COVID because I got COVID. And then I'm like, damn, why am I always tired? Like, I guess COVID really probably made things worse or whatnot.
Mhm.
So I went to the doctor trying to find answers with that. Why am I always tired? Why I don't have no energy? Like, why do I not want to leave the house? Like, why do I not really want to do anything unless I have to do it? You know, like I was single at the time and it can be like a beautiful woman. And I know it's going to be a date. It's going to be fun and yada, yada, yada. I wouldn't want to leave the house to like go to that date or do anything. You know, it could be like going to play video games with my friends. Like I wouldn't want to do it. Now, when I get there, I have fun, but just the want to leave. So like all of these things were like, okay, from what society says, you're depressed. Me being in that mode forever, pretty much since I know, I didn't know or think I was. So I would talk to the therapist and I would talk to the psychiatrist and they would say, oh, you're probably just depressed. And I would be like, how do you know? Like, this is something I always feel, so I don't know. So when I finally broke down and decided to take the like Wellbutrin, that yucky, cloudy, icky feeling that I would just unknowingly be consistently feeling went away.
Okay, so what is the difference? I'm not saying you've done this, but I've heard people, I've never done it. So I've heard people that they've taken cocaine and they felt amazing.
Mm.
And then when they didn't take cocaine, they didn't feel amazing. So what is the difference between like
That's a good point.
a drug that is prescribed by a doctor versus a street drug that makes you feel good and then you don't feel good.
But they
a lot
are
of
made.
A lot of these ADD medications are similar to cocaine.
Okay,
Or just like meth.
So yeah,
Meth
meth
specifically.
would be
Meth
the thing, not cocaine. So I mean, at the
It's
end,
crazy.
I'm learning, so I'm really asking.
It is similar. It is chemically similar.
Okay,
the funny
okay.
thing is, like when I
Because
told
it sounds like somebody that would be on cocaine and then they're not on cocaine, they need to go get more cocaine.
yeah, I mean, if you want to put it that way, yes.
No, I'm not trying to put it that way in that way. I'm trying to really understand.
Nah, but that's pretty much like what it really is, because like Adderall.
Okay.
Like when I told my sister, like, yeah, the doctor prescribed me Adderall. She was like, oh, you starting meth now, and I was like, what? Yeah, but it's I think it's methamphetamine, whatever that.
Methamphetamine.
It's one of it's in that category
Okay.
or whatnot.
It's an
So,
amphetamine.
Yeah.
Right.
So pretty much, yeah, that's what you're doing. But at the end of the day, everything, if the scientists do use it, it still came from the earth.
Got it.
So it just depends on how you put it together. Like cocaine, people will consider that bad, but it's from earth. Like weed, they've condemned that bad, but it's just something grown from
Right,
the earth.
right.
Whatever they use
How they
to make
mix it
these
in the cocktail
medicines
that
and
they
whatnot,
create. Okay.
it's still coming. We ain't creators of anything. Man doesn't create anything.
Right.
Essentially, they just take what's in the ground or what's being done, then they do all of that.
Right.
So it's like the drug industry, and I'm not trying to be no fighter for the drug industry. 'cause they, whatnot. But they just take pretty much what's on the earth, and then they do what they do. So it's like a lot of people had to have that ideology of what you just said, like natural, cocaine is natural, weed is natural, but the drugs we get from the scientists isn't natural because they make it, and it's like they're doing nothing but taking weed, let's say weed, and then putting it with water and putting it with orange juice, and they making this drug for you.
Right.
or whatnot.
Synthetic
So-
versus
Yeah, I mean, I guess we're stretching the term natural right now because I guess it depends on how you define natural.
Well, people would
Because, like-
define natural as just something coming from the earth.
Right. Now, technically, I
Like
guess
people would talk to
everything-
me about do Dr. Sebi's stuff, which is supposed to be natural,
Yes,
do all of that stuff, and that should heal you from your depression and everything else. So it's like they
Did you
consider
ever
that
try
kind of
anything like that?
But what
But
I'm
the
saying
natural, yeah, I
is-
tried. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah,
It
yeah.
just
What I'm saying
didn't.
is we
Not
can't
Dr.
say-
Sebi stuff though.
I just wouldn't say like these pills that we're getting that are synthetically created from, you could say, organic materials at some point are natural. You know what I'm saying? I would say there's a distinct line, like you said, marijuana. You don't really do much to it. It grows, you dry it, you smoke it. Or, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
That I would say is more a natural process than.
Yeah, it has
when
less. It
takes
has less
vitamins.
ingredients.
You know, it has
essentially,
less,
yeah.
well, less ingredients and less synthetic processes.
Because we don't make
that
ingredients.
use it.
What ingredients does man make?
Well, it depends.
We don't make ingredients. We just combine things to make a certain ingredient, which is molecules, which is the
It depends on your definition of create. When you say create, do you mean like create from nothing?
yeah.
Right, because it technically, scientifically, you can't get something from nothing.
Right. We don't.
But-
Yeah.
Right. But and we're not alchemists where we can just,
Yeah.
you know what I'm saying, just wish it all together. But there is a form of creation that we do have where we take different molecules, combine them to create its own synthetic properties. And
Yeah, I agree.
And my biggest problem with the pharmaceutical industry is, like I said, it's for profit. So they're not necessarily looking for the best results.
True.
Right? You know what I'm saying?
True.
So there is that whole
Or the
mix.
fastest results. They
Or
want.
the
Yeah, they
fastest.
like a lot of long term.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And even if there's long-term ramifications, if anything, it's better for them because it's like, I'll give you this pill to solve that, but now I'm going to give you this other pill to solve the problem we created with this first pill. So now you're on 2 or 3 things. But when you think about it, medicine, like pills are prescribed to you and covered by insurance, but vitamins aren't. You're telling me like I can't get my insurance to cover vitamins or fish oil or something preventative.
Yeah, you
that
can.
gets- Not 90%.
A lot of vitamins you can though. Like I can.
Most
Like I just got
people-
folic acid, but I don't want you to say that they won't cover no vitamins when, in all actuality, like if
guess
we're
it
going to
depends
speak
on
on the
your level
information,
of-
I would like the information to be
Very
more.
Very few people get their vitamins covered.
But a lot of people don't go into their doctor and be like, "Hey, doc, can you prescribe me vitamin B?
But that's the
Can
thing,
you
it's not
prescribe me
their job
yada?"
to. It's the doctor's job to prescribe it to you.
I mean, if it's at the store for $5, the doctor probably just be
What-
like, "Just go to the store and
what-
like buy it."
What vitamins that are worth it? Like you really, they're not $5, especially not anymore.
Nah, that's why I
And-
get mine prescribed because my prescription is going to be cheaper than for me to buy it in the store. But a lot of people don't have that information to ask their doctor.
Because the doctor is the person who should be providing that information.
I
So they're gonna
agree.
give you a pill instead of vitamins.
Well,
that
you
can
just
help you
said.
long
Well,
term.
you just said. Well, I guess my correction was you said that the doctors don't prescribe vitamins, and I'm just saying doctors do prescribe vitamins.
Right.
Like you just have to like ask for it. Like my doctor said, my cardiologist was like, go get folic acid at CVS, and I was like, well, can you prescribe it for me? Because it'll be like 2 cents as opposed to me spending $6. And he was like, yeah, I can.
But why did he do that?
His first instinctual thought is probably just to like, I get what you're saying. It's twofold. Two things can be true.
Yeah.
I'm not even gonna say they're not incentivized because they're not incentivized. Like they don't get paid off the drugs in the store. It's just something
I'll tell you
that.
this, knowing personally from having family that are doctors,
Mm.
these people show up to these doctors' offices
Yeah.
with steaks, wine bottles,
Yeah.
taking them out
Yeah.
to introduce prescriptions that
Yeah.
they're then
Yeah,
being incentivized to
Yeah.
prescribe.
yeah,
That doesn't mean that's the best solution for these people,
true,
but they're incentivized to continue pushing certain medications.
true.
You know what I'm saying? So
That's
what I'm
why,
saying.
like, you have to.
We don't have that balance as a society where the people that we're relying on for health information are going to actually be providing you the information you should be getting.
I don't know how accurate it is or if it's even true, but there is a website, and I can't remember what it is, that you can go to and you can put your doctor's name in there because the doctors have to report those things
Right.
or whatnot. So it'll show you how much money that doctor has taken from specific like drug companies
But
or
isn't
whatnot.
it crazy that they could be paying off a doctor?
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, that
it's
is
true.
crazy, but that's America. Look at the politicians and stuff. But
Well, we could
back to what you
listen.
said.
We could debate this.
Right.
Y'all could debate this all day.
Yeah.
I'm gonna ask a final question.
Uh-huh.
If you ruled the world,
Mhm.
what's one thing that you would want to change?
I would want to change pretty much, man, there really isn't no one big thing, but I guess the one big thing that I would like to push out there is just for people to know that they literally have a choice in how they want to live life. They can choose whatever they choose. They can think however they want to think. Like really, there really isn't too much of right and wrong. It's pretty much like cause and effect. You know, like if I do something to this person, how is it going to make them feel? What's the effect or whatnot? But a lot of stuff really isn't. There is no like right or wrong. And to me, I feel like that's the biggest harm on mental health is just that social conditioning of you're supposed to live life one specific way. Like this is the chosen way.
Right.
Like that really to me causes the majority of the stress that we like really have.
Right. So there's no one size fit all.
Yeah, there's
And
no
so
one
you would-
size fit all.
Make it so that people can have the right to choose.
Just have a choice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Man,
Freedom to
thank
choose.
you, Errisson, for coming on.
Thank you,
Yes.
man.
Thank JC.
It's good talking to you, man.
Discussion, bro. Absolutely.
As always, great conversation. Learned a lot about medication that I didn't know. I want you guys to know, stay strong, keep strengthening.